1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever know. Sigh. This episode is brought to you by Valhalla Hobby. They're based in Verona, Wisconsin. You can find them at valhallahobby.com. If you use the code TABLED at checkout, you get 5% off your first order over $100. It is 1 use only. Thank you very much. And let's get on with the episode.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts, Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Yep, that's it. I'm here by myself. I have been betrayed. I have been bamboozled. I have been lied to. It's horrible. Now, we already touched on the fact that that last episode was going to be our last one together for a little while. George was already going to be away this episode. Socks and I were supposed to be here, but Socks has betrayed me like a filthy, filthy person that he is. No, that's not entirely true. Major Socks is out having dinner with family, and the restaurant is kind of slow? Question mark. I just like that. There's two reasons that Major Socks is being demoted today. The first is that he's not here, and therefore he gets demoted. He was already Civilian Socks, so I guess he's back to being Slime Socks now. The second is he's allowed his son to have a birthday the day before mine, which is just a betrayal of humanity. And this weekend is mine. Well, it's Monday for me. I think it's absolutely filthy and disgusting that he allowed his son to be born so close to me, many years before he even knew I existed. It's just not good enough. And I'm definitely not overreacting whatsoever. Absolute filth, scum of the earth. That's what this man clearly is. Slime is not good enough. So in the comments, tell me what his next role should be. Because clearly Slime is not good enough. Is he Bacteria? Bacteria Socks doesn't sound really good. Let me know.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
Recording this by myself is a tad awkward, I have to admit. But we're going to go the best that we can. The plan for today is that Socks is supposed to be joining me at some point during the episode. When that happens is obviously up for debate. We will just have to see how the day goes. So if there's a bit of an awkward transition at some point, now you know why. The other side of it is that because I have no one to banter with, it's probably likely I'm going to finish before he gets here. We'll see how we go. But we are starting with Kings of War. Last episode we touched on the fact that there is a 4th edition coming. Well, we now have pre-orders for 4th edition already. Seriously, I wasn't expecting the announcement and the actual reveal to be this close. I was honestly expecting that announcement trailer was more of a, yes, this is what we're working on, not, hey, keep an eye out, this is literally around the corner. I mean, since we looked at that and spoke about that trailer, we did kind of see that there are some rules that they were teasing, but still, I didn't really realize we were this close. So we're looking at the new 2-player starter set here. That is featuring 2 brand new armies, one of which is an invading force of doggos. That's not doggos. There we go. An invading force of doggos. They are really, really cute. let's go back to the first image. So, the Doggo army is on this side, which is brand new sculpts. They do seem to have some human assistance behind them. A little bit of a closer look at the actual box art there, which is, honestly, it's a really nice image. And then we're getting into the other army, which is, again, just gorgeous. I can't think what this is called, but this is very clearly designed to look like that deep sea fish that has the lure in front of its jaws. That's nowhere near as big as what we tend to think it is. So, one of these armies are a brand new army, which is the Doggo side. That is the, and I'm going to murder this pronunciation, Zakali. It's Xirkaali. So I'm going to say Zakali, but it could be Kakali. It could be a lot of things. They are invading from another land. So this is the first time we're seeing somebody that's outside of the regular land that Kings of War takes place in. And in this box set, they're up against the Trident Realm, which is a force that already exists, but obviously we're getting some expansion here. I think it's pretty fair to say that 3rd edition Kings of War had gone really well. I also think it's pretty fair to say that it had lost a bit of steam there towards the end, because obviously, as much as I'm not even vaguely interested in it, like, there's no denying that Old World took some of the steam out of their sails. Which I would probably say is a shame, because honestly, I think Kings of War is a better game. And I mean that with all due sincerity. I have no nostalgia for the old fantasy game. I know this is not a very popular opinion. And I'm sorry, if the old fantasy game is one of the things that you love and you're one of the people that don't like hearing people talk bad about it, I'm sorry. But I just don't think it holds up as well as the nostalgia makes people think it does. I realise there were some alterations that they made to kind of update it a little, but it still is essentially fantasy, right? Granted, Kings of War also kind of started its life trying to go into that niche, but definitely became its own thing. I prefer the idea of the multi-base, where you have multiple models on one base, as opposed to setting them up so you can remove models and stuff. Though I understand, for some people, being able to remove the models as they're ruined is part of the fun. But I kind of like the diorama thing as well. That doesn't really make any difference to an actual game, per se. I don't know. Personally, I've always found that Kings of War is more attractive to me. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of tempted to try out Champions at some point. I'll wait to see when they release an army force for that interests me. But we will see. There is also... I don't actually have this here. 4th edition, there we go. There's a couple of bundles that they're doing as well. So that's what we were just looking at. It's £100 for the starter set, which it's not bad value, honestly. You can also just buy the core rulebook, obviously. The rulebook that comes in the starter set is advertised as a slim line. So I'm guessing that means that it's going to be an A5 size. It's obviously not full size. You can see that in the bundle here. And it doesn't say whether it includes the lore or not. I would guess that it doesn't, because it wouldn't be called a slimline version if it was still the same contents. But I couldn't find any confirmation for that on here at all. So the bundle here is literally just the full-size rulebook with the set. You're getting it slightly cheaper. There's also one with the core rulebook, your first expansion, which is called Invasion. And you get a free map, because free things are cool. You got another one here, which also comes with some extra forces and a turn counter, which is looks like a giant ogre that's carrying a dice. Oh no, it's a giant hyena bear type thing that's carrying a dice. That's cool. Hyena bear thing. Hyena dog thing is what I meant to say. This one comes with all of your new tokens and so forth, because obviously tokens is definitely an important thing. You can also buy, I kind of really like this one. You can buy a copy that comes signed by Alessio Cavatore, and the expansion is signed by Matt Gilbert. And this one also comes with a turn, with a bag. I don't think that's a model carrying bag. It's just a regular messenger bag. So I guess it's like you carry your rule books and everything in it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the idea of the map. Especially if you're really into the game, it'd be something that'd be really cool to have set up in your. It'd be nice to have it set up in your actual in your gaming room or something. If you have a gaming room at home, having a map of the land that you're playing all of your games on would be really, really cool. There is also your usual expansions and extra models and so forth. I quite like this dragon. This dragon is gorgeous. It's kind of like I want to say, like, it's definitely got some Oriental dragon style designs. Not being offensive, like, generally speaking, that's what it's always been called. And calling something dragon explains like 500 different things. I'm just trying to be descriptive with, because not everybody's watching the video version of this. The head is very much leaning towards the depiction of a dragon that you see in Chinese mythology, but then it seems to have more of a European body. But then again, it's also wrapped around the tree, so I don't know. It's kind of so it's got a European body, but its tail is long and wrapping around the tree. So it's kind of like it's its own unique version of several different things. Ironically, they also call it a wingless snake-like dragon, which means it's not a dragon, it's a drake. But that's just me being... Wait. No, it's not a dragon, it's a worm. So, Mantic, you're wrong. I'm just being specific, though. Ooh, these Witch Hunter models are quite nice with their... Okay, yep. So, I think it's pretty safe to assume that most of this army is going to be themed on the Chinese mythology, but with dogs, which is interesting. I don't know why dogs. I mean, I guess they're probably deliberately choosing an animal that doesn't really have any ties to that, because I'm going to assume that they're doing that to try to avoid accusations of it being stereotypical. Ooh. Oh, I really like that. I think I might have a new favorite miniature from Mantic. That is gorgeous. What I'm looking at here is essentially an orangutan gorilla, is what I'm going to describe it as. It's on two legs. It's upright like a human, and is taking like a stance, ready to fight like a monk. But it's very clearly... It has like a gorilla face, but it's been painted to look like an orangutan. This is the Zakali Shao Kahn ape, and I am here for it. That is amazing. The sculpting on that is really cool. Anything else that massively stands out? Got a couple of... We've got the rocket launcher, the war machine, where it kind of... In Mulan, they show them up with the handheld ones. But then you also had the ones where it's like shooting rocket after rocket after rocket. And there's also a giant cannon as well. Trident Realms appear to have gotten a complete refresh. We've got our lizards riding the toads. We've got our little lizardmen guys here. Yeah. War Games accessory sets. Neoprene mats. Yeah. Nice. I think there's some really nice stuff going on here. They've even got some converters so that if you do want to bring your models from fantasy, I'm just going to say fantasy, you can convert a 25mm base to a 40mm and a 20mm to a 40mm to try and scale up the way that they look from one game to the other without having to completely rebase everything. And they seem to have redone their base sets too. They are now textured, which is nice to see. It kind of feels like it's got a Lego kind of vibe going. Because we've got these connector things off to the side, or at least I assume that's what they are. Interesting. All right. So yeah, Kings of War 4th edition will be launching in November. There's not a specific date in November. I'm going to assume that it would be late November. But like I said, it doesn't specifically say a date on the website itself. TT Combat have some things going as well. Probably the big one news-wise. Actually, no, this is not the big one news-wise. We have a new paint set coming for the TT Combat paints, and they've actually teamed up with Midwinter Minis, which is definitely one of the larger YouTubers going on now. He's very popular. And just adding to the range and teaming up with another YouTuber to try to get some more views on it, I suppose. This is something that kind of like everybody apart from Games Workshop seem to be doing this now. Like Army Painter's done it with quite a few people. Like there's quite a few people that are doing this whole, hey, can you design or can you design a paint set to kind of, or inviting somebody to do it. And I say design because I don't really know how much they actually really do. I mean, obviously, some of them are chemists. There's one particular YouTuber that's a chemist, but he's never had a set of his own done that I know. That's Gerbertown. I kind of get the impression that most of them are just like, well, I'd like these sort of colours. That's what I would like to see. There's also an expansion set that's been done. Though, ironically, the expansion set doesn't have... The website for the first one, like the core set, actually show you what they look like on miniatures, which is a really nice touch. I really feel like this is something that should be done more often. My favourite colour in this first one is either the Resplendent Purple or the EA Blue. It's EAA Blue. The AA Blue, I suppose. But going into the booster set, we're getting some skin tones. There's an off-white, which they're calling ivory. Laser cut brown might be my favorite color name. But there's also a nice greeny blue teal in here that's quite nice as well, and that's definitely my favorite in that box. Well, hey, it's interesting. I find it's a very interesting thing that the industry is doing. Trying to team up with popular people within the industry to get more eyes on their product is a very smart business decision. And like it works mutually, right? Like they manage to sell more product to these people's fans, and at the same time, it leads more people to the YouTuber that probably may not have found them otherwise. It's also another way that the YouTubers can kind of make a little extra pocket, I guess. There's obviously a bundle where you can buy them all together as well. moving on. I really like this new Rumble Slam team. So the new Rumble Slam team is called Running Aground. I originally read this as Around before I started recording, and only realized afterwards what it actually said. And it's essentially man ape, and because there's a gorilla, there's I can't remember what type of monkey this is. It's the one that has the blue and the red on the nose. And we've got a couple of humans with them as well. There's another. I don't know what sort of. They're definitely actual monkey types. The gorilla's definitely my favorite in this box set. But I love what they're doing here. Is it macaque? Maybe it's a macaque. I can't think what it's called. The gorilla is dressed up as like the pirate captain, hence running aground. Do you get it? There's one that's dressed up as the chef, and he's holding like an octopus down on the plate that he's just finished cooking, which is painted up to be a blue ringed octopus. I wouldn't recommend eating that. Interesting choice by the painters there, I suppose. And I want to say the last one is one of the monkeys from Madagascar that, again, I can't think of the name of right now. If I had somebody to bounce off, somebody else could look it up while I'm trying to do this. But unfortunately, I'm by myself because I was betrayed. The humans are cool too. Fairly standard pose. Well, the lady has a standard pose. She's kind of just standing there, not even bothering to look at you. She's kind of looking off to the side, just feigning interest. The other guy's kind of working his shoulder, almost like he's either winding, trying to stretch it out, or he's feeling pain and he's trying to, again, stretch it out. But this is not the big story from TT Combat. The big story from TT Combat is a pre-order that will be coming up soon. We are getting a new box set for Carnevale. It's going to be the Doctors versus the Patricians, 4 models aside, so it's a smaller box set, which makes it very affordable and easy to get into. And this is hard plastic. We are getting hard plastic miniatures for Carnevale. TT Combat are very clearly stepping up into plastic for all of their stuff now, or at least for their starter sets. And honestly, if there's a chance to get into hard plastic miniatures, I will always take it for a game that I play, because for me at least, hard plastic is just better. So the Patricians are the rich folk of the town that are horrible people. Their pastime is to go out and murder things in the city at night. And I'm not even like, that is just quite literally the way that the story is written. And the doctors basically spend their time experimenting on their patients, turning them into horrible, maddening creatures. There's this one that's kind of been sculpted to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arms. One of his legs seems to be twice the size of the other one, unless that's just the way it's posed. It might just be that's armor around the other leg, maybe. The other one's kind of strapped up into some... He kind of looks like he's psychic and screaming or something. I don't know. Hard to say. Now, obviously, it's early days. They've only just announced this over the last couple of days. You will be getting a new compact version of the rulebook, which updates everything, because obviously there's been like FAQs and so forth since the last edition was brought out. This does not say that it's a new edition. They're just kind of doing like the updating of the book to go along with it. Kind of like what they did with Drop Fleet Commander in between the 2 editions, where they wasn't ready to do a new edition yet. They just updated the rulebook so that everything was in one book. So, And you got some lovely card terrain. Just standard, simple. Yeah. So some really exciting things coming out of TT Combat. Hard plastic for Carnevale is definitely something that I love to see. I'd love to see them do something like this for Rumble Slam eventually. I would imagine that there's no point doing that until they decide to do a new edition of Rumble Slam. But I guess we'll see. Time will tell, right? I wouldn't expect that happening anytime soon. Grey for Now Games have Wave 2 of their game coming out. So, Guards of Traitors Toll came out, I want to say, well, it might even be a year ago. I don't think it's that long ago. I want to say 6 months ago, but I'm probably wrong. But they are doing expansions. So this particular page we're looking at now has the Guardhouse Heroes. So these are quite clearly more advanced guards with more experience. Give you a new flavour for the game. I'm just trying to... No, it doesn't want to load. Anyway, yeah. So this comes with 4 resin figures. These are resin, not plastic like the previous ones were. It comes with Captain Bello, which is the big guard, I believe. We have Sergeant Cruston Pericule, which is the little guy here. He's a gnome. We have Gnome Guard Lug, which... Oh, no, Lug is the troll guy. Captain Bello is the lady down here. And then we have Cruston. Hey, Jason, if you read the cards, they tell you who people are. Well, it's not just guards. We are getting some sinister citizens as well. Are these also resin? I think these are also resin. Yes. We have Pain in the Neck. That's definitely not a vampire. I don't know why you would even suggest that it's a vampire. Yeah, it might be a vampire. We have a Clumsy Apprentice. I don't know why a Clumsy Apprentice is sinister, but anyway. We have a Haunting Memory, which appears to be a guard that passed away at some point and is now haunting his post. Hunter in the Shadows is a rogue, obviously up to no good. Molly the Pie Maker is just the nastiest looking chef you've ever seen. And a trapped child that really feels like it's one of those... You know how like you just get that... The creepy girl, the creepy young child in horror movies? That's the feeling I'm getting here. But that may not necessarily be what they're going for. I mean, the box is called... The box is called Sinister Citizens, right? So you expect that... Yeah, like that's what you're expecting. She's also kind of dressed up in like the little hood and it. Personally, if I was to buy this, I'm painting her as Little Red Riding Hood. That is just 100% what I'm doing. It's not what they've done here, but that is 100% the way I would go. This is a lot of fun, this box set. And then, finally, we have Guards of Traitor Toll New Recruits, which is a smaller box. Again, this is resin miniatures. We've got a little halfling guard, we've got a dwarf guard, and we've got a guard with an attack dog. Just all expansions for the game, essentially. This game is... This is genuinely a game that I want to play. It just looks like fun. It's not an expensive game. Oh, they're doing bundles for the whole thing. There's also a... No, that's not what it... There's also a novel that's coming out that's here somewhere, which has got 5 short stories in it. Or is it that? No, there's like an actual book. Can't see Maybe the short stories is in the front of the book. Oh, it is this. Okay, so there's a hardback rule book. It actually has 5 short stories in it as well. I had seen the note about the short stories. I hadn't realised that there was actually a full rule book there as well. So I should have had that on my run sheet. Very simple but effective artwork on this. And hardback rule books are always fun. Really, really nice looking artwork. Kind of feels like it's a painting from the era. We have a story from Weird that they posted out on October 6th. This is part of one of their this is a regular update that they do, and it's usually done to like kind of talk about what's coming or like exciting updates and stuff. But this time they kind of took the opportunity to talk about why some of their products have been delayed. So the 2-player starter set especially had been delayed for a month because it was originally meant to be released now, but they had to put it off until November and hadn't really explained why. I'll come to a few theories as to why they didn't explain initially, because I think there's a side of this that most of us don't think about when we hear about delays. But basically what they've confirmed is that there was a fire on board the ship that had their stock on it. And the ship had to basically go off because, you know, there's a fire. They can't dock when there's a fire on board. Thankfully, none of their actual product was damaged. Obviously, it would be very bad if that happened, although I guess insurance is a thing. But still, this is the sort of update that not a lot of people often do. And I love to see it. This is the difference between a good company that's customer focused, or at least wants to look like they're customer focused. Let's be fair, this is a PR campaign. And someone that's trying to hide the news under the rug. I think what most people don't realize about stories like this, the reason that they don't just outright talk about what happens with delays and stuff is because there's not, if your product isn't being made in-house, there's other companies involved. And if you start talking about mistakes that other companies have been made, lawsuits can happen. So it's kind of one of those things where you kind of have to be careful, and you have to know that if you're going to say something public like this, that the other companies are on board with it, right? I mean, fires happen on ships all the time. I'm not saying every day, but like fire is a thing that happens. It's just common occurrence. I mean, there's nothing in this to say what caused the fire. It could have been a lightning strike or something. It could have been spontaneous combustion. It could have been anything. It could have been oil. It could have been, and it doesn't really matter. But I think one of the things that we forget about as customers is that delays happen for a lot of different reasons. And most of the time, it's probably not caused by the end result. Most product is made by other people, not the company that's selling it. I mean, you have certain companies that, yes, do as much as they can. Like they're pouring their own resin, but even then, they're probably having to get someone else to print their books for them. Or if they're a printing house, then they're having to get someone else to make their miniatures for them. Even Games Workshop don't make all of their own product. Like some of their plastics are coming out of China now, for example. And Games Workshop are very in-house. I mean, the reason that their paint lines got redone at one point is because they wanted to start making it themselves so that they owned it and not somebody else. I think I just feel like it's something that we kind of forget about, right? Still no news from Socks. I'm going to be finished with the news before he gets here. I might be finished with the entire episode before he gets here. If you come here for Socks and George, I apologise. It's only me today. it's time for some Games Workshop stuff. I know Socks is going to be massively upset by this. I know he always loves to be here for the Games Workshop stuff, being the massive Games Workshop nerd that he is. If you're new to the podcast, you probably don't get why I'm making that remark. Socks has never touched a Games Workshop. Well, he's once touched a Games Workshop product, and it was basically because we made him. It's not where he's one of the rare people that didn't get into the hobby because of Warhammer, and I mean that quite literally. He comes from historical gaming. We have Warhammer Quest coming back. I wasn't really expecting this. So it's Darkwater. Warhammer Quest Darkwater, based back in fantasy again. Evil lurks in the dark. There's something in the water, and the whole Gairan is under threat. It's possibly time to gather together a band of heroes, renegades, and misfits, and go on a quest. I love how this has been written like it's actually a trailer. It's going to be interesting to see how this happened. This is taking place in mortal realms, so it's not happening within Old World, it's happening within Age of Sigmar. We appear like the artwork here, we've got a dwarf, we've got one of the classic knights from I'm going to say Bretonia, but it could be anywhere, really. And even saying that, it can't be Bretonia anyway, because it's not in there. I don't know where that goes from. I guess it's Cities of Sigmar then. I don't know. Who's the lion shield thing? I'm missing something here. It appears to be mostly Beastman that's surrounding them. There's also some Nurgle stuff in the background. I'm kind of hoping that we see some Skaven, but I don't see any evidence of it in the artwork. Can we get a closer look if I zoom in? Appears to have some undead stuff here. Yeah, I don't see any evidence of Skaven on it. It looks mostly Beastmanish and Nurglish demons, but yeah, I guess we'll find out, right? We'll find out a lot of things. I would imagine that it's going to be the whole modular tile system again. Like, we don't really know anything yet. This is all that we have this stage. There's a lot of excitement for it for obvious reasons. Warhammer Quest is one of those things that people love. Yeah. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. I want somebody to redo Space Crusade. And I want it to be done under the Warhammer license. They've redone older stuff, but nobody has ever redone Space Crusade. But like, they've redone Space Hulk so many times. I'd love to see the other one. We also have some White Scars stuff happening. So, I'm going to say this wrong. Sabodun Khan is getting a new miniature. He's got a hover bike, which is, I mean, it looks like he's riding a brick. I don't have a problem with that necessarily. Like, I actually quite like the look of the miniature. But it's very square. It's very 40k, right? I love the bull bar on the front with a minigun. The dead heads around it is kind of cool. I could see people having fun with this in conversions. It appears to be held up on not just twigs and stuff, but some rocks and that as well. It's kind of designed to make it look like it's hovering over these things while it holds the miniature up. So you don't have the issue of having to have the flight stand. They appear to be separate pieces though, so you shouldn't have that problem of if this doesn't fit with your terrain, it will look bad thing. But whether it comes with a flight stand, I don't know. You might have to get a flight stand separately if it doesn't have one. because if you want to base it in a different way, for example. The twig in the front looks rather thin, but the fact that there's rocks there to hold it as well probably means that it's not going to have that fragile, I'm going to shatter the moment you look at me issue that a lot of their modern stuff has been happening when they're hovering. It's going to be interesting to see more pictures of that. I'd love to see like a full 360-degree view. We're also getting... that's not what I want to look at. Where's the other one? Yeah, I don't have it. Oh well. We also have previews for the Christmas boxes. So, they do these every year. These are bundles that you can buy specifically around Christmas for a premium price. There was a point in time where these tended to be very good value. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's what these are going to be now, for a couple of reasons. We don't know what they're going to cost. Also, the last couple of years, the price has been fairly if you were saving something, but nothing, only because they priced everything up. Like they're giving you a discount of what the price should have been initially, type stuff. The first one has full Grim because, well, it's an Emperor's Children box. So you've got him with 6 Flawless Blades and 6 Noise Marines. So here are your Noise Marines. Here are your Flawless Blades. Also has some transfer sheets and stuff. Every box should have transfer sheets and stuff. That shouldn't be a selling point, Games Workshop. We also have a Chthonian Prospect box, which is the Kinhost. I don't see anything new in this. It's all just... I mean, this is stuff that's all happened in the last year or so, right? Well, actually, not exclusively. Do I get a bigger view? Nice looking box set. Like, genuinely, like, they are nice looking miniatures. Oh, there's a bare-chested one. Oh, there's a couple. I don't remember them doing bare-chested ones. Maybe they did and I've just forgotten about it. I remember the big mortar thing where it shoots missiles into the ground. That was kind of cool. We have some Tyranids. It appears to be a box of just bigger monsters, essentially. Because there's just big. It's basic. Tyranids are Tyranids. I'm not being dismissive, but a box like this, if you're already into Tyranids, if you don't have these miniatures, it's an easy way to add them to the force, right? But it's probably not a good place to start when it comes to this sort of stuff. We have a Neuro Tyrant with 2 Neuraloids. So this is the big brain things in the middle. The Screamer Killer. We have a Tyrannofex, which is the big one in the back. A Maliceptor, a Horospex. Exocrine, which I'm guessing must be that one. Yeah. We got a tower box. There seems to be a tower box almost every year. And whilst what I'm about to say isn't true, it kind of feels like it's the same box that we get all the time. I mean, yeah. We've got some Crisis suits. We've got a Broadside. We've got Captain Farsight. And we have the big... not the giant one, the other one. The Riptide. It feels like it's the same box set that we always get, except there's less in it. Because the old version of this had 3 Broadsides and 2 lots of Crisis suits. And because it's Games Workshop, obviously we're getting a Space Marine box. Well, would we not have a Space Marine box? I'm kind of shrugging and going, eh. We also have a Chaos box, and Again, it kind of feels like it's the same box we've seen before. Again, it's not. It's not the same box. I mean, for starters, some of this didn't exist last year. I don't think any of this is a new, actually. I think that spider might be. I don't. There's a giant mechanical spider with a guy riding it with a giant sword spear thing. It's all very chaosy. There's another spider, which is the old one, where it's just a monster walking up the battlefield. I know I'm kind of talking kind of dismissively about this, but a lot of these boxes kind of just feel like the same stuff we get every year. There's a Krieg platoon, which is a huge box set, honestly. It looks like we've got 1, 2, 3 regular troop boxes, and then we've clearly got a command box here and 2 cannons. Or weapon platforms, they're probably called. I would imagine that these are both different builds that you can build from one kit, but I don't know the Krieg layouts specifically enough. Also, looking at the Krieg troops, I assume these are the same troops. So we've got a Lord Commissar, a Krieg Command Squad, I was right, a charge of 20 Death Corps of Krieg. Okay, so they're not 3 boxes. 2 artillery teams, so yes, they were the same. It also contains a box. Yep. It's odd. Command Squad. 20 Krieg Troopers. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It doesn't say what this other squad is. There's another squad there. Oh, it's a squad of combat engineers. There it is. Okay, never mind. So we've got a box of regular troops, which is 20, and then we've got another box of combat engineers, which is like your heavy weapons guys. And then we've got the 2 weapon platforms, like I said before. They are also doing the same thing, but for Age of Sigmar. I might just scan through these quickly, just because me ranting about it is probably not the most exciting thing. We have a Skaven box, which is obviously the one that I go, ooh, I like it about. This is basically all of the new stuff. So for someone like myself, that was either trying to build these by hand or whatever, that didn't have any of the updated sculpts, if I wanted to, this would be the box that I buy, because it just updates everything I've got that I need. We've also got the Lancers of Crimson Keep, which is your obligatory... Oh, no, it's not. I was going to say it's Khorne, but it's not. This is the vampire one. This is... I love that undead dragon. It's so cool. And you got your giant fellbats. Wait, are they actually fellbats? No, that's what they used to be called. Prince Vorodai... 10 Blood Knights. The Blood Knights are awesome, but I think it is 3 fellbats. I was right. So it's a bit more of a simple box. We've got 2 boxes of the Blood Knights. We've got the giant prince on the dragon, and we've got 3 fellbats. We've also got... Is this a Nurgle box? It looks like a Nurgle box. Nope. This is the... Goonspike Gits, but it's the Trolls side of it, including this giant guy in the middle that has this temple on his back, where it looks like he's stood up underneath what used to be a Lizardman's Shrine. There's also a Spite Grove box, which is the the Forest Elves. It's an updated version of what George brought last year or the year before, whichever year it was that he bought it. So, look, there's something in there for everybody if you're looking to get into either of the games. I can't speak on the value that you're going to be getting in these boxes. I am imagining by the look of it, because these are all going to be priced around the same sort of price. It'll be up and down a little bit each box. But there's going to be some stark differences in the values in these boxes. And a lot of the value is depending on how you feel about their pricing. Like the Dankhold Rampage box, which is the Trolls. These are all very expensive models. The Skaven has a lot of stuff in it. The Vampire box doesn't have a lot in it, but there's a giant monster in it as well. So it's very, very, very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what their pricing is actually like. Again, I can't comment on the actual the value that you're getting. All right, and then finally, we are looking at some Infinity. So, Corvus Belli are previewing what is going to be the next major release, and it's a new action box. Or an action pack, sorry. So this is the new wave. This is a new force that's coming from the combined armies. And we have... I'm sorry, but this is absolutely incredible. Like, seriously, this box looks awesome. I'm looking at the bundle on screen at the moment. But these troops... So, first and foremost, we have a bunch of human warriors that have clearly joined up with the, what looks to be human warriors that have joined up with the combined army. I'm pretty sure this is something that's happened in the story quite recently. And then we obviously have them mixed with other races and so forth that are in this particular split in the faction as well. There's also this dinosaur-looking thing in the background. And there's an expansion that comes with this giant lizard gorilla type monstrosity with somebody riding on the back of it that might just be one of the best looking miniatures I've seen from Corvus Belli. It's absolutely insane. Let's go back. So the Juggernaut is the giant lizard-looking thing, which does come in a box by itself. It is part of the bundle, but the reason I'm opening it up by itself is it gives me another angle on the actual miniature. This is gorgeous. Absolutely incredible. Like, if you're not watching the video edition of this podcast, you really should. The links are in the links to everything I'm talking about are on the website for the most recent episode. They always will be. But if you would, on the Patreon, you get to see the video edition the same day that the audio goes live. Otherwise, it goes live on Thursday on our YouTube channel. If you haven't looked up the images for what I'm discussing, look up the Infinity Next Wave or get the link from our website. None of them are affiliate links or anything. It just takes you to what we're talking about. This miniature is gorgeous. It's just intensely gorgeous. The actual Next Wave action pack, I'm going into that as well, just so that, again, I can get bigger looks at the miniatures, because the bundle doesn't really show you that. I mean, Infinity miniatures are always gorgeous. I'm not saying anything that you shouldn't know here already, but they're just pretty. It's so good. I like the mixed nature of this as well. Again, I'm saying that these appear to be humans that have crossed the line. I could be wrong on that. Like 100% I could be wrong here. Dinobot. If I'm going to call the dinosaur-looking one Dinobot, but I don't know what I want to call the giant juggernaut thing. Because it's not really... I mean, it's more lizard than gorilla, I suppose, but I don't really... I don't know, I kind of get mountain lion type. Cave bear type. I don't know, it kind of feels primary. I mean, it's very sci-fi. But, like, it's too big to be a regular lion, but it kind of feels very cat. It looks gorgeous. And then, of course, there is an exclusive miniature as well, which I did show very briefly, but I will look again. And this is like some tentacle alien thing. It's very much alien. But, yeah. It almost looks like a grey. But then he's got tentacles coming down from his face. So, or what looks like tentacles coming from his... Actually, no, I'm wrong. They're not tentacles. They're just hoses coming down from his helmet. I'm guessing this is someone that can't breathe our atmosphere.
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
So, hobby time. What have I been up to? What about you, George? What have you been up to? Oh, nothing? Nothing? Got nothing to say? Oh, okay. What about you, Socks? Oh, you're out to dinner with your family. Oh, okay. Oh, but what's that? You forgot that this is the weekend that it was just... Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, thank you for that update. Am I being sarcastic? Yeah, just a little bit. What have I been up to? I had a game of Zombicide on Friday night that I really enjoyed. We lost twice. We just got it just... sometimes Zombicide just, everything just slowly gets worse and worse and worse, and it just eventually overwhelms you. It was just one of those times. Both times, what's the word? With the giant... Because you have levels of the zombies that come out. Abomination. The Abomination came out in the first wave, both times. And we got very difficult Abominations to deal with as well. The second game went much better than the first. We almost won, and then just everything went wrong. We kind of got trapped and overwhelmed, and yeah. It was a lot of fun, though. On Wednesday night, was it Wednesday? I had a game of Last Light with the guys that I normally play Moonstone with, and that again, fantastic. That was one of those games where I kind of felt like there was nothing I could really do all game. And I actually made this comment a couple of times as well, that by the time the game ends, I think I had too light at the time. And I was like, honestly, by the time the game ends, I don't think it's possible for me to get any more light. Because kind of got trapped in my own little corner. I couldn't really do anything because the planet thing that I'd chosen, which is a choice that I made, if you don't know Last Light, basically, you're in space, it's the end of the universe, all of the stars are going dark, and you're trying to capture as much light as you can to be the last surviving race in the universe, essentially. I'm very much oversimplifying this. One of the missions you get at the start is to capture certain coloured planets. And I had chosen the blue ones, so I had to capture 4 of those before the end of the game. But I was a bit stupid, because if I had have looked at where I was, there wasn't really any blue planets on my side of the map. I mean, there was, but there wasn't enough. I had to kind of go too far to get to them. So, I didn't really get my strategy right that time. I probably should have done the green, but I kind of ended up being surrounded really, really quickly. And I kind of had to wait for... I either had to go aggressive, which wasn't going to work because they had more ships than I did because of the strategy I chose. Or I kind of had to wait for them to get out of the way so that I could then go and... I waited for their big ships to get out of the way so I can go and capture the planets that they just left behind. And I managed to get my 4 light right at the end of the game just before it was over. I did manage to get another one as well, but I don't remember where the other light came from. So, in the end, I did much better than I thought I was going to. I had 8 light when the game was over. You have to get to 20. And I, again, genuinely didn't think I'd get that far. Like I said, I made this comment a couple of times while playing. Not because I was being like, oh, there's no... I mean, I made a joke a couple of times that I may as well go home, but I was joking. But it's not like I was being sad-sacked or anything. It's just one of those things. Like, sometimes you just kind of, like, you just see the way the game's going. It's like, yeah, I don't really think there's much I can do here. But it's one of those games where it's just so much. It's a lot of fun if you get the right sized group. And it's a group that there's me and another player in particular that tend to enjoy bantering with each other. We just back and forth bantering all the time. It's so much fun. Yeah. I've also been preparing to paint some new things. So I actually got some new motorbikes primed up. This is going to be for Entropy City. This is going to be one of the police miniatures. I don't really have any police miniatures yet, despite having rules for them. I haven't actually painted any up. Basically, the plan at the moment is to paint these 3 up. One of the miniatures that I'm currently using for the Komodo, I'm going to actually take out and replace it with another one because there's more miniatures there that I'm using. And then I will have my 4 police so I can start testing those as well. Or the RFPD, Redemption Falls Police Department. I also, finally, I think I've been holding on to these for almost 12 months at this point. But I've also, wow, my camera's actually working today. I also primed the Burrows and Badgers set that I got from Kickstarter ages ago. This is, I don't remember what they called the box, but they were like a sinister group of heroes. Just a lot of fun. One's not showing up quite as well. I think it depends on how I hold them, because it tries to focus on my fingers. My favourite's definitely the big lady badger, but there's some real nice looking stuff in this box. I won't show them all off. I also primed up some more scatter terrain for Entropy City, because like I said a couple of times now, I'm trying to just flesh out my terrain a little bit and try to make different options that I can put onto the table. I kind of adjusted a couple of things in the rulebook, but otherwise it's kind of just been what it's been, I suppose. Hobby-wise, that's kind of it, I think. I did go to PAX yesterday. Unfortunately, I only got to go to 1 day of PAX. Originally, I was supposed to be working on Friday. By the time that changed, it was too late to get a ticket for Friday. So I didn't go. And normally, I organise to get this weekend off for PAX. But George said that he needed it before I had a chance to ask. And I hadn't bought my tickets yet. So I just said, well, I just won't go to PAX on Sunday then. So I gave it up so I could do the recording. I will admit, I wasn't overly happy about doing that, but I just said, look, it's fine. It just means that I save money. And that was true. Like, it just meant that I saved money. And that was fine. The fact that I've kind of been left here by myself kind of annoys me. I'm not going to lie. I'm just being honest. I am kind of annoyed. But look, it is what it is. This happens, right? I kind of feel like I'm just sitting here talking to myself, which is just so dumb. Oh, I don't know. Hopefully it's still entertaining to listen to. PAX itself I really enjoyed it. I was not there for the full day. I went, some people may have noticed I put out a post showing what my uniform was, just in case there was listeners there that happened to notice and wanted to say hello. Nobody did, and that's fine. I know we've only got a small audience. But in saying that, I was dressed up as a Ghostbuster, like in full gear. I really, really enjoyed my time. It got a lot of attention. A lot of people wanted photos and stuff, which is really cool. Dressing up as something that people actually recognize helps a little bit in that. I've done costumes a couple of times. I once went as Bill Murray from Space Jam, and yes, people recognized the Space Jam gear, but they didn't realize I was actually dressed up as something. And another time I went as like an old man Cobra Commander, and just nobody got it, which is fine. I thought it was fun. But going as something that the Ghostbusters uniform is something that I've been wanting to build for a long time, and I finally got around to doing it over the last couple of years, piece by piece. There's still some personalization I want to do. I have the HasLab Proton Pack, and at this stage I don't have an Alice frame for it. I need to fix that because I wore it for 4.5 hours, and I was in agony by the time I was finished. To the point where I got an Uber home, I had a shower, I got changed, and then I went back on the motorbike in regular clothing because I just physically couldn't do it anymore. And I went back for probably another couple of hours before ultimately I ended up going home again. I actually wasn't there for the fire, ironically. The time that I had left, I'd left like 20 minutes before that happened. There was like, they evacuated the building at one point. Because of a fire, but apparently it was a false alarm, I've been told. I've been told 2 different stories. I genuinely don't know what is true. The story I heard initially was that it was a kitchen fire, but just a small one that wasn't really worth, like, it was just kind of one of those things where you kind of have to evacuate even though it's not serious. Because, things can get out of hand, I suppose. But I've also heard that it was a complete false alarm, so I don't know what the truth is. I don't know if it was a deliberate false alarm. I would certainly hope not. But yeah, apparently it was a false alarm. So I don't really know. Like I said, I wasn't there at the time. I kind of got really lucky, I suppose. I just picked a good time to leave. If I had have left 20 minutes later, then I would have been fighting to get out. At a point where I was in a lot of pain, so... I got to see quite a few things. I played a few games. I picked up a copy of a game called Frayed Ally, which I should probably show you. Frayed Ally is a game that I spoke about last year. I pre-ordered it while I was there. The expansions are not out yet. This is a card game. There are no miniatures in this, hence why it's so small. But basically, it's a battle royal card game. You're fighting against everybody else and kind of just seeing who comes out on top. There's a bad guy that you're trying to take out, but at the same time, you're trying to be the one that takes them out as well. So I had a lot of fun when I played that last year. I didn't play it this year because, I have a copy now. I can do that in my own time. I played a couple of video games that I thought was really cool. There's one called The Hell, where it was like, or at least it appears to be, because I didn't play it. I kind of stood there watching people play it for a little while. And then I've added it to my Steam wishlist because I'm like, ooh, I want to try this. It looks like you're building a city for the undead, but it's very Cthulhu-esque. There was something about it that just captured my attention. There was another one that its name escapes me right now, but your dog has gone missing. And you're trying to find where the dog went, and there's all these mysterious things happening in town. And it was a point-and-click game, like LucasArts type point-and-click adventure type thing. Very 80s themed. Like artwork feels like it could have been from any of those games back in the day. I will admit, point-and-click adventures aren't my thing, and they never really have been. Which I say ironically, because I was enjoying playing around with it. And the friend that was with me at the time got he was like, I was going to have a go, and I thought I'd leave you to it because you appeared to be really into it. And I was like, I'm not really into those sort of games. I was just kind of having a go. But it looks like it'll be fun. It's not a game for me, but it does look like it'll be fun. The creepy nature of not... I'd also kind of started the game halfway through as well, which probably didn't help. Because I was kind of trying to figure out what I was doing and being halfway. I had the option of restarting. I was like, it's fine. I'll just keep going. Because, it's not the sort of game I'm normally into. Starting at the start didn't really sound that appealing. Like I said, lots of photos. I didn't go to any of the panels because I couldn't sit down in the uniform, and none of those theatres have room for me to take my stuff off and sit it in front of me, which either meant that I was going to have to hold it in my lap and then I couldn't see and was probably going to be blocking views of others. Or I don't really like that. I just didn't see a way of doing it, so I didn't even bother trying. That's probably my big regret, is like I didn't have a way of doing that. Not without taking my stuff down to the cloakroom and just hoping everything went okay. I just didn't feel comfortable with that. This is not a criticism against PAX, but when you have an expensive proton pack that's largely plastic, I didn't trust it not to get broken. So I just kind of chose to miss out in that regard. I played... Dice Throne are doing a thing called now Slam Throne, which people from the 90s may remember Tarzos. Somebody's doing Tarzos again, but with their own art. But it's not a collectible in chips thing. It's like you're buying blind boxing. So it's like Dice Throne, quite literally. It's blind boxes. I'm terrible at it. I can say you this right now. I'm terrible at it. I got maybe 3 things to flip for me. They definitely have fixed one of the problems with the original game, which was getting them to actually bounce and flip was quite difficult. But you have to pile them on a neoprene mat, and it's like a little neoprene mat that comes in the pack that you buy, and that's what you stack everything on, which helps them bounce and flip. But even with that, whatever the skill that's involved, I don't have it. I really, really struggled. I was terrible. I lost quite shamefully in the end. I did buy 4 packs of it, not for me, but because a friend of mine wanted some of the PAX exclusive stuff that they were selling. On that note, the people that were demoing the game was saying that the game was PAX exclusive, which I'm afraid to say it wasn't. I don't blame the staff for this. I blame the people that train the staff, because that game is not PAX exclusive. You can buy it at retail. There was at least 3 people that asked them about this while they were at the con. And I'm not going to say they argued with them, but they did kind of turn around and say, well, that shouldn't be the case. This is supposed to be a PAX exclusive. What was a PAX exclusive was the item they were selling, because the packs are convention exclusives. And PAX is the only place in Australia that you can get those. The game itself is actually available at retail. It is an important difference, but I just thought it was worth pointing that out. Again, this is not their fault. They have just either been told the wrong thing by the people that organised the booth, or weren't listening. But a couple of people tried to correct them on that, and they didn't quite. They didn't really. They just kept on pushing the fact that the game was. They basically kept on pushing the mistake, and I'm saying it's a mistake. I'm deliberately trying to avoid calling it a lie, because I don't think they were deliberately lying. I just don't think they understood. It's just one of those things. It happens sometimes. The big controversy with PAX leading up was I was concerned that the tabletop scene was about to get smaller. And I'm very happy to report that that was not the case. Actually, the tabletop scene was bigger this year than it was last year. Where last year the video game side kind of creeped in, that entire space was tabletop this year, and then video games had their entire scene as well. Tabletop spilled out into the corridor. There was like 4 booths that are out into the corridor as well, so it was actually bigger. The booths that were outside were the booths that were not doing anything interactive, and they were just market stalls. So they've separated those out, the actual places that are just there to be shop fronts. The big change that they were doing, and they didn't talk much about this from the customer point of view. They just talked about it behind the scenes, which I think is part of the problem with the misinformation that we were hearing. Because the stuff that I was saying was stuff that I was hearing from a customer's point of view. It's like, this is all happening, and stores are saying that they're being told that they can't go there this year. Oh my God, they must be shrinking tabletop. That's terrible, because there'd been a few years where it had been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And that's what it looked like from our perspective they were doing. They weren't. What they were actually doing is they wanted anybody that was having a booth there to have something there that was going to be interactive. And in some cases, that's just not possible. I mean, stores that sell games, sure, let's demo 40K. Let's demo this board game. Let's demo Slam Throne, which was being run by Good Games, just for the record. Again, not blaming Good. They just, like I said, they just misunderstood, or they just weren't told the right thing. Either way, wasn't the fault of the people that were actually at the booth. But if you have a terrain company that are there only to sell their terrain and they don't sell games, probably not overly keen. And I know this because it happened with one of them. I'm not going to say who. They're not in a position to do an interact thing. It's mostly a volunteer group that do it. Same with like a lot of the dice companies, not all of them, but in saying that, there were a few booths where I kind of felt like they said that they were going to do something interactive and clearly didn't. Because Level Up Dice were not doing anything that was interactive. Not Level Up Dice. What were they called? Quest Makers. No. There was a dice company that was inside. I can't remember who it was. There was a dice company that was inside that was just selling dice, and there was nothing interactive about the booth whatsoever. I can't remember who it was. It makes me terrible. But anyway. On the video game side, I browsed around. I had a look around the Nintendo booth, which was insanely busy. They didn't really have anything there that was out of the ordinary. Like Mario Kart World was there. The new Kirby Air Racers game was there. Hyrule Warriors was there. They had Mario World on the big screen. Controversial opinion. I actually think Mario Kart World is bigger. It is better than Mario Kart 8 was. I also don't think it's a very fair... I think part of the problem with that argument is that it's not a fair comparison. One of those games had 10 years of DLC, and the other game has been out for a month and a half. You can't sit there and say that Mario Kart World isn't as good. It hasn't been out long enough to even compete yet. There's definitely parts of it that I would prefer to have the option to just race a race and not have to do the whole go from one track to the other, to the other, to the other thing. I'm hoping that gets fixed in one of the DLCs, where you can just do 3 laps of a certain thing as a race, because that doesn't really exist in the game right now. But we're not a video game channel. Like I said, I wasn't there for the full thing, which should be a negative thing, but it's not. But the reason I left ultimately is because physically I was just broken. Like I said, the Proton Pack, if I don't have the Alice frame, which is designed to carry heavy loads and ease the... It was a bad idea. But I didn't know that. I'm really, really glad I did it. I don't regret it whatsoever. I'm glad I was there.
Talk nerdy to me.
All right. This is really awkward because this is supposed to be a group conversation. But this is going to just end up turning into a rant by me. I rant enough on this channel. I don't need to be ranting as well. I might change the topic. The original plan for this was going to be making your own fiction inside of an existing game. And the reason that I'm thinking I'm not going to discuss that today is because I'm very interested to hear what Socks and George have to say on the subject. Now, I always knew that George wasn't going to be here. But like in 40k especially, it's a very big selling point of the game. You can kind of do your own thing with it. But Socks has never really been in that side, so I'm very curious to hear what he would have to say on the matter. So instead, I think I'm going to do something that makes a little bit more sense. I came up with an idea for a discussion during the week where problems with the hobby that manufacturing can't fix. And I'm going to start by talking a little bit about a conversation I've been hearing a lot lately. And this is a conversation I've had in the past as well. Where either... Actually, I'll talk about one of them that happened. I bought some NCP models, and I had a Loki, and the horns were missing. And so I reached out. I was like, well, I don't really need the whole thing. I really only just need the horns. The issue is, and I think a lot of customers don't think about this. At least 85% of all miniatures are cast all together all at once. Either because it's all on one sprue, or it's if it's a resin, then it might be different, but even then it's probably just different ports at the same time. Most traditionally casted miniatures are done as a single piece, or maybe 2 or 3 at the most. Unless it's something that's gigantic, which is why I'm not saying it's all of them. Traditional casting doesn't really allow for miniature companies to do the whole send you a missing piece thing. Because basically what it ends up meaning is that they end up having to that they have to deliberately cast something and then cut it out and then send you what's missing and then store what's left over somewhere. Which, from a financial perspective, makes no sense. Because the rest of that miniature is going to... Unless they were really lucky, where another customer needs one of that. Like, there's several customers that always need a different piece. Maybe they'll get really lucky, but generally speaking, that's not really something that's ever going to make any more sense. That's why, from a customer service point of view, if something's missing, they will generally send you the entire thing again. Or you may have what happened with my crew, where you will have to take yours in and get it replaced with a new one. Because casting doesn't really allow for... If you've lost a piece and you want, hey, can I just buy this extra piece? You might get lucky where somebody on eBay has split them all up and is doing it on purpose, and they usually sell it for a stupidly offensive price to try and make money out of it, because that is their business model, right? Because somebody's desperate enough to want that head and only want that head, so it makes sense for them to do it. It doesn't make a lot of sense for Games Workshop or Corvus Belli or Asmodee to do that, because they're just going to end up having bins and bins and bins and bins of stuff that will never sell. And if they do sell, it's going to cost them more to store it for the 6 months that it'll sell than they'll ever make out of it in profit. Because they will spend more money on the person going to grab it and selling it than that one item is worth. Like I said, this is... And the thread that I don't remember what group it was in. I don't believe it was Games Workshop. I believe that it might have been Warcrow. It was somebody that was doing it in one of the other materials anyway. It wasn't hard plastic. But I was like, I've lost this piece. I realize that that's my fault, but I'm just wondering if I can buy it from them. Like, do they have a way that I can buy this from them? And a whole heap of people were like, well, you can always email them. But nobody was really saying what the actual truth of the matter was, which is that, like, realistically, no. Like, you're going to have to buy the miniature again, or you're going to have to find another way of fixing it. Now, I keep on saying that traditional casting doesn't allow for this, right? 3D printing does. But that means that you need the part, right? If somebody has designed an STL that you can then buy and then print, or if somebody had designed the miniature as an STL to begin with, in theory, a manufacturer could choose to do 3D printing as a way to solve this problem. I am yet to see anybody that actually does do this, though. I don't see this happening anytime soon because, again, I just don't believe there's going to be enough money in it for people to be bothered. Ultimately, sometimes there's not enough demand for something for a business to actually see it as financially viable, as they would probably make money out of it 5 or 6 times a year. And yes, I realize that some people are going to turn around and say, well, that's 5 or 6 times a year that they wouldn't have made money. But again, they're not going to really make any money out of this. It's going to cost them more than it would otherwise. I am not someone that is good with green stuff. I avoid using green stuff like the plague. But this is probably where skills with green stuff and that comes in. Or having to bite the bullet and buy it again, which sucks, and I'm not saying feels good. This is the sort of thing that turns people off a game. And I know that. I'm trying to understand that. I'm just talking about the realism of the business. Because as much as I don't remember what miniature it was. But let's say somebody bought the 2-player starter set and have lost a piece. Like, this isn't a piece that was missing when they opened it. They have lost it. Now, granted, I know that some people would just lie about this. That's not what this person was doing. They were being honest about the fact that they'd lost it. I believe it was an arm or a hand or a weapon or something. But basically what that means is that either you have to be lucky enough that somebody has decided to split the box and sell that miniature by itself, or you have to wait for the miniature to be released separately, which sometimes things are, sometimes they're not. It depends on the game. Again, I don't remember what game this was. Or I'd have to just lump it. I mean, at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter too much. I mean, it does matter, but I mean, if you're playing with your mates and somebody's got a hand that's missing, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I know it does, but it would annoy the living daylights out of me. I'm not pretending otherwise. It really would. But at the same time, I mean, does it really matter? So I just thought that was... It's an idea that I had, but I wasn't going to talk about it in a group thing yet. I was going to leave it for another week. But given that I'm here by myself and I'm going to end up ranting anyway, I thought, well, maybe this is a more appropriate time to do this. Another thought that I had when I was trying to piece out this idea was the perfect brush and the perfect paint thing, right? And this is actually something I've discussed before on my old Getting Tabled Guides video. If you go out online and you ask for people's opinions on what the best paintbrush is, you will get opinions. You will very, very rarely get somebody tell you the actual truth. Which I have done it a couple of times, but I'm only one person and I'm not sure how seriously people take me. But the perfect brush doesn't exist. The perfect paint doesn't exist. Because here's the problem. It's all opinions and personal preferences. There are some very, very high-quality professional painters that deliberately buy very cheap brushes because they just don't see the difference. I am not one of those people. I'm also not a big professional painter. I do have preferences with paintbrushes. But in saying that, I've also had expensive paint brands that I know are very popular, and I have friends that use them and swear by them, that I will never touch after the experiences that I had with them. I mean, there's enough positive opinions on the company that I know that the problem was mine and that I just got unlucky, but I still won't touch them ever again. I I have spoken about what brand it was in the past if you want to go looking for it, but I'm not going to say who they were now. But I bought one of their paintbrushes, and I mean this quite literally. The moment that I dipped it in the water, the tip split, and I could never get it back again. I took it back up to the counter. I was in the store at the time. I took it back, and they swapped it. And exactly the same thing happened again. I lumped it the second time, and I just accepted it. I shouldn't have done that. I should have asked for a refund. I don't think they were going to let me have one, though. In hindsight, I say they probably wouldn't have. They would have just tried to say, well, this is odd. Because it was odd. It's not something that should be happening. And if it happens a second time like that, then, well, look, you would expect that it's a problem with, like, this person is just lying. But I'm not. I mean this quite literally. I'm describing to you what happened. And here's the thing. This can happen with anything. Like, it can happen with Rosemary. It can happen with Winsor & Newton. It definitely happens with Games Workshop brushes. Some of them come split before they've even been used. A lot of these companies all come from the same factories. Games Workshop stuff, I'm pretty sure, is made by Winsor & Newton. It may not be, but it is actually one of the really big ones that the internet like to brag about. I may be wrong about who it is, but they don't make their own brushes. Somebody else makes them for them. I only found this out recently. Games Workshop have never actually changed the source of their brushes. They've just changed the handle designs. All of them still come from the same places that they always did. Like I said, they've never publicly said who it was. I think it might be Winsor & Newton, but I don't know that for a fact. But it is one of the big ones that everybody brags about and says, well, you shouldn't buy Games Workshop, you should buy this. It may not... I don't know who the company is, but it is one of the big ones. Likewise with paint. Like, everybody talks about how the opacity of paints and da-da-da. All paints have their place. All of them. I mean, I'll sit here and say outright, I'm not a fan of P3 paints. I've never liked them. I've only had one experience with them, but that experience was bad. That doesn't make P3 paints bad. It means that I don't like them. I really hate Games Workshop whites. I will never agree with the people. And look, Alan, if you come across this, I know you'll argue with me on this. We've had this debate before. But I just don't like their whites. I think their whites are, and I will say it, garbage. It doesn't make them garbage. It means that I think they are. They're difficult to use. There are other brands that make whites that work better for me. If you can get Games Workshop whites to go, because you can use them. You just have to use them in a specific way. I just find that way incredibly frustrating and annoying. Same thing goes for yellow, same thing goes for pinks, not in that particular line, but every paint brand has a colour that they're very good with and a colour that they're and a couple that they're probably not. And it doesn't matter if it's Vallejo, it doesn't matter if it's Army Painter, it doesn't matter if it's P3. It doesn't, like, every brand has their weakness. Personally, if you have access to multiple brands, I'd be saying, hey, buy a pot of this, buy a pot of that, and try different things. Otherwise, buy something that you have access to that you can get easily, and just accept the weaknesses that it has. Like, there's no perfect brand out there. There never will be. Lately, a lot of brands have been going for the high opacity. Like, Army Painter have done this recently. Vallejo are doing it as well. Games Workshop have always gone in that direction. That's not always a good thing. I mean, obviously, you have to water everything down. But in the case of whites, that's where a lot of your problems come from. I think it's worth reminding people, because every time a newbie comes into this hobby, they ask this question and they get flooded with opinions. that are trying to pretend like those opinions aren't opinions and are actually fact. Like, you should only buy this sort of brush. You should only buy this sort of paint. All of the rest of them just aren't as good, and I can tell you that because I use them myself. The problem is that you're not saying a fact. You're saying a personal experience, and that is based on your personal preference. And the way that they want to paint, or the way that they find painting, may not line up with how you paint. There's no way that you can know that. And it doesn't make you a bad person. Like, I'm not saying that you're bad for saying this, because all you're intending is to give an opinion. But when you make that opinion out to be fact, which is what the internet does, this is just how the internet is, right? Nothing ever sounds the way you think it does. So I just thought it was a worthwhile reminder, especially if by chance there's a newbie that has stumbled across this. Like, if you're asking for people's opinions online, just understand that that's all that you're getting. They're not necessarily facts, even if it sounds like facts. It's just important to remind yourself. The last thing I'm going to touch on, and then I think we're going to end it, because clearly Socks is not going to be back before I finish. I kind of had a feeling that was going to be the case anyway. Miscasts will always happen. This is a conversation I've had a couple of times. I mentioned it in regards to CO Cast when I was doing unboxings for Infinity, when I was looking at it for the first time, because miscasts were being blamed as an issue with CO Cast. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that CO Cast is the best material ever. I mean, it's definitely a budget material. It has its strengths and it's had its weaknesses. But miscasting is something that happens in all casting. It can happen with hard plastic. It's much less likely, but it can happen. It definitely can happen with resin. Like slip happens frequently. There's a reason why you have to redo the molds every so often with resin, because they can only survive for so long. It could definitely happen with metal. Like, it happens with everything. It's just a fact of life. It's just one of those things. This is why customer service exists. It's why, I mean, you go online and people go, well, yes, you need to understand that that's a risk. Like resin, like one of the risks with resin is bubbles and da-da-da. Like, that is something that you are expected to deal with. I can't deal with it. And it's definitely turned me off lines in the past. But it is kind of one of those things that just happens. Like resin, you're going to have a bit of squeeze out. You're going to have a bit of flashing. You're going to have some mold lines. But sometimes you are genuinely going to have miscasts. Some companies are really good at noticing it and pulling those things out. Other companies don't always notice it. But generally speaking, like if you have something that's genuinely been miscast, and you send them a photo of like, hey, this is what I received and I think it's a bit of a miscast, most companies will say, yep, sure, no problem, we'll send you another one. That is an accepted business practice. It's just what happens. It's just one of those things. Like, manufacturing can't fix everything. Some things happen in large manufacturing that you just can't get around. It's human nature and it's life. Like, even robots make mistakes. And humans definitely do. So, it's just something to keep in mind. You can't fix everything. It's not possible. We want to thank Valhalla Hobby for sponsoring this episode, even though it's only been me that you've had to listen to rant. I hope the fact that I haven't had anybody to bounce off has made this difficult to listen to. Valhalla Hobby is based in Verona, Wisconsin. They're a great store with great prices. That's not the only reason we like them. I mean, obviously, yes, they support us, so we would say positive things, but genuinely nice people as well. They do have your regular Warhammers and your big stuff, but they have a huge range from the indie scene. I can't guarantee you they have everything that we've ever spoken about, but they have a huge range. Like, they have your Bushidos, they have your Infinities, they have your TT Combat stuff, and a lot more. ValhallaHobby.com is where you'll find them. If you use the code TABLED at checkout, that's TABLED, you'll get 5% off your first order over $100. We get no kickback from this. There is nothing that we receive from your purchase. It just shows them that that's where you came from, and obviously that the sponsorship is worth it for them. So support the people that support us. We appreciate their support. We appreciate you considering supporting them. If you like what we do, then you can find a way to support us at patreon.com/gettingtabled. It's $2 a month. Gives you early access to all of the video content that we do. The video edition of the podcast is the example that I use more frequently because that is every episode goes up live the day that it's recorded, whereas YouTube, you won't see it until the following Thursday. Any other video that's going to YouTube, most of the time we'll get early access there as well. It's very, very rarely that it doesn't. If there's any stories that you've heard today that you'd like to find more information on, then you can find the links to the stories on the most recent episode at gettingtabled.com. If you'd like to follow us, you can do that on Facebook. It's facebook.com/gettingtabled. On X, Twitter, Instagram, Blusky, Threads is all at gettingtabled. We also have a Reddit, which is r/gettingtabled. The YouTube is youtube.com/gettingtabled. If there's any reason that you want to reach out to us, if you've got a product that you'd like to recommend that we look at, or if you've got questions, or you want to moan about the fact that it's just me ranting and that there's nobody been there to support me today, you can reach out to us at gettingtabled@gmail.com. If you're not tired of listening to my voice, you can also find me at Toy Reel. There's a group of us there that look at action figures and toys. youtube.com/toyreel. And if you want to know more about Entropy City, you can find that at entropycitygame.com. Thank you very much for listening to me rant. I very much appreciate you being here. This solo mode is not something that happens very often, but I appreciate the fact that you've joined me. And again, I hope that it wasn't too bad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.